hope I got everything going all right. Fuck, I forgot this. All right. Sorry, a little delayed because I'm still getting my brain back in order from Veltor 282. But man, what a crazy it's great to be back out on the road. Coast to Coast Combat Hour, all brought to you by AllAccessMMA.com. Make sure you check out All Access MMA for your mixed martial arts news. Ed Carbajal and Matt Hawkins here after I'm coming back from Bellator 282, and it's International Fight Week, and Matt's gonna be going to I don't know, man. I mean, you'll let us know. I when you get back if it's a better or worse version. It's been downgrading. I know, with the exception of the COVID years, but I mean, ever since Endeavor took over, it's the International Fight Week has been a questionable travel expense lately.
Yep. And the schedules come out, so I'll talk a little bit more about that a little later on when we get into the UFC stuff. But yeah, nice to see you back out covering an event. Got to hang out with all the big wigs again, and
Yeah. Except Scott Coker. Scott Coker was actually not there. They said he was under the weather. But I almost forgot. Today's June 29th. It's my dad's birthday. So my dad doesn't really listen to podcasts and stuff, but I just wanted to put it out there. Shout out to my dad, turning 84 today. He's a beast. So
happy
yeah,
birthday,
man.
Papa Carbazal.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it was definitely so. Anyone that's been following this podcast, I mean, Matt knows, obviously, COVID. The last time I was getting ready to cover an event was when the week the pandemic started in March of 2020, and it was the Monday at the Viacom building that Bellator did this big wall at about their spring summer schedule. COVID hits that Wednesday, and the event they had scheduled for that Friday gets canceled, and then we all know the story how it goes from there. So lots of stuff of me trying to get to events that haven't really done much. I went to an AEW event in September, but that was just as a fan, not as media. But this was my first time back on the road, boots on the ground, to cover an event on Fight Week, the whole Fight Week. Everything's here on the YouTube channel if you want to check it out. I was out there covering it for mymmanews.com if you want to read everything that I did. Full results are up there too. But it was it was a good breath of fresh air to get back out there and just be at an event live for the entire Fight Week media day, weigh-ins, all that stuff. And if it was going to be a card, what a card to come back to too, man. I mean, Bellator 282, we had the middleweight title change and some great finishes. That whole Sabah Homasi, I don't know where that aggression came from. We saw it at the ceremonial weigh-ins, and he kind of like kept that same energy on the fight night. He got a really spectacular knockout. Aaron Jeffrey, who made his Bellator debut, also got a second round finish. I mean, put a stamp on his name as a pro fighter, but now he's at a higher level in the CFFC. So he in the middleweight division. So it's interesting that the main event had the title change hands with Johnny Eblin as the new champion. I don't know what fight stood out to you, man, but I mean, I was there for everything, and just amazing card.
Yeah, I some of the prelims I missed out on, just because of work and
Yeah, that's right, 3 hours behind. Yeah,
I got a little BKFC rant that I'll get into after we get into this. I don't want to interrupt her talking about this, but yeah. So I mean, obviously the main event. I mean, like I said, Musasi's last fight, I picked Vanderfort, and I thought that he kind of had the tools to do it, and I was blatantly wrong on that fight. And this fight, I said can't pick Musasi, but I with Gegard, I always feel like you're that 1 out of 10 fights you're going to kind of get that lackadaisical fight, and not that this was so much a lackadaisical fight on his part, getting dropped 6 seconds into the fight or whatever it is, taking a huge shot that would have finished a ton of people, throws your game plan off when you're in a 25 minute title fight.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say it was lackadaisical, but you kind of, and he almost fought back and had his moments early on. But I feel like, the kind of the young kid, took that step
Yeah.
and knew the weaknesses of Musasi and used that to his advantage to I don't want to say he landed some big strikes, but kind of wrestled his way to the title. And
Hmm.
and that's kind of the way in my mind I pictured Vanderfort, but obviously Vanderfort didn't land that giant punch to
Yeah.
start the
Yeah.
fight and throw everything into chaos.
Yeah. I mean, well, there's a couple of things too that I mean, it's. And I meant to ask him on Media Day again. His and Eblin's Media Day stuff is on this YouTube channel if you want to check it out. But the one of the things I didn't get to ask him. Nolan King, by the way, was we were sat together for almost everything, and he does a good job asking questions. So I don't want to say he's stealing questions because he's asking a good question that I wanted to ask anyway. Doesn't matter who asks it as long as we get a good answer. So shout out to Nolan King, who the homie we hung out there and stuff like that, and he's been on the podcast. I mean, that kid's if you're not following MMA Kings on Twitter, make sure you are because that kid is something else, man. But besides the point, so I talked about like that thing in New York before the pandemic started. Musasi was there, and I remember. I mean, it's not on this YouTube channel because I was there for another outlet. But asking Musasi about like um, looking ahead at future challenges or whatever, and one of the things he said, and I know I've said on this podcast before, is how the fight goes depending on if I feel like fighting, and sometimes when I do bad, I don't feel like fighting. And I was getting that energy the Wednesday at Media Day, and you can again check the video because that is on this YouTube channel. And then the as far as the thing you said about Vanderford, the comparison because they're both wrestling based, both being undefeated before they met Musasi, that came up, and they trained together. And Eblin said, he talked to Vanderford about it, and one of the things again, sometimes you can learn from losses even if they're not your own. And one of the things he said he learned from Vanderford that Vanderford was admitted was that he was trying too hard to get an early finish. And the thing that Eblin said it at Media Day, and we saw it put in practice on Fight Night, was that he kept saying, "I got 25 minutes to do this. I got 25 minutes to do this," and we kept seeing that. And I think something about either that and his confidence and wherever Musasi was going into it, the combination of that is how I mean, you win a decisive victory like that, with control and stuff like that. You're gonna have people, not a fans of wrestling, whatever. But he did some. I don't know what he was doing with his counter striking. It kind of like made Musasi miss a beat. Um, it was just masterful, and I mean, a solid win. And I don't even know. I'm sure if somebody had to put it online at the post-fight press conference right before Evelyn was going to start talking, Musasi was leaving, and he walked up to him, gave him a hug, and was like, "You deserve it. Great, I mean, talk about. I mean, you don't beginning, during fight week, and then after. All respect from both guys. You don't need to have the trash talk. Like I know it's fun, but I mean, if you're into like old school martial arts and the way the martial arts is supposed to mean things like that, that really meant something to see all that last week.
That's cool to hear. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's interesting. I didn't know they trained together, so that although it makes sense,
Hmm.
American Top Team. I don't know why it never crossed my mind, but
It's like
that's interesting.
it was like a half ATT card on that thing, but yeah.
Tournament moves on. Danny Sabatello, doesn't gain a lot of fans, but advances in the tournament now, and the double Mega Med
Hmm.
gets the late finish in the fourth round.
Hmm.
How do you see those guys? What was it? Sabatello. I've always said watching him on TV, I thought he was, he always seemed to have a leg up on his wrestling, and there was something, that seemed almost kind of special about it. But then he
Hmm.
had his moments here early on, where things got reversed on him a little bit, but then he rallied back and was able to go to his wrestling to
Hmm.
really kind of do the last 15 minutes or so of the
Yeah.
fight.
Yeah. It was weird because, every time previously when I've gone up north to cover fights at like Foxwoods or Mohegan Sun, it seems like the fan base around there is usually pretty knowledgeable about the sport, and you don't get a lot of like booing or anything like that. I don't know if it's because of Sabatello's gimmick that
Hmm.
they're booing how well he did because he did really well, and I didn't understand it at all, and he won convincingly. And then one thing I'll say is as far as like the him and Stotts matchup, which a guy we did a media scrum with Rafael and Stotts. It's also on this YouTube channel. You can check it out where we talked to him because he was there. They had him doing desk commentary, and he was there to obviously watch those bantamweight fights, and him being obviously interested in because he's still in the tournament, but he knew he was going to get the winner of Sabatello Higo, and when we asked him like as far as a technical battle, he said he'd like to fight Leandro Higo, but obviously the more marketable lead up fun fight, you know, trash talking one is going to be him and Sabatello, and you could see his face light up. Definitely check that video out because you can see his expression change when he talks about the possibility. Again, this is Thursday, the day before, of fighting Sabatello. So obviously, the in-ring stuff, it's all over social media. If you haven't missed it, like we're gonna get a fun build up to whenever they fight.
Yeah, no, I think it will be a fun build up.
And
The
how they match up too is I mean
Interesting.
I think it's going to be a great fight. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Sabatello's got to have to, he's going to have to continue to develop his skills where he goes for more finishes. I think that's probably what leads to the crowd booing. And,
Mm.
25 minutes is a long fight.
Mm-hmm.
If you have one guy who's kind of dominating wrestling, I particularly is not someone it's not something I ever boo vocally, but I've sat there at fights and been like, this kind of sucks, So
Mm-hmm.
I see that, but knowing what his style is and knowing who you're going to watch to fight, it really shouldn't surprise you if you're a fan of Bellator and you've seen him fight in the past. That's his path to victory, and it's going to be the first person who's really able to stuff his takedown
Mm-hmm.
and not allow him to control them. And Higo did it for a round and a half ish, and had some really good moments where it looked like the
Mm-hmm.
fight was going to go his way. I
Yeah.
think it was second round,
Yeah.
but interesting how that goes. And then, like I said, Magomed. I'm not sure who. Do you know who he's fighting? Do they have brackets? I can't recall. Do you
Oh,
know who
they
he was?
did. They did. They put it on the screen, but I don't remember it. You'd have to
Gotcha.
check a.
We'll move on to that one then. But yeah, he picks up another win. Obviously, his last loss was to Stotts.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not on the same side of the bracket. So there's a fight. It's slipping my mind. Obviously, on the other side, but Brennan Ward continues his comeback. That's
Yeah.
crazy up and down story. Um, and
Yeah, he
like you,
still works his full time job. Like he's still a day laborer and in the union and stuff. Use vacation time to fight that week, which is crazy.
I
So I
did
mean,
miss the
I can
Tokov
relate,
fight.
but
Yeah, no, I missed the Tokov fight live. The Anatoly Tokov fight. Any chatter about him in the backstage or anything going on? The dude's 31-3 now and fighting on the
mm-hmm.
prelims. I mean, was there any talk about him being the next challenger? Or did that never really get
Well,
addressed?
Musasi was actually before on media day was the one that said like when I asked him about I asked him about the rankings and if he if looking at that menu of possible opponents, kind of like there was fights that called out to him, and Tokov was the first name that he said because of how well he's been doing. So it looks like I mean I didn't see I know the rating actually the rankings came out yesterday. Um Obviously with Evelyn there. Hold on, let me bring them up because they just came out, and I know there was obviously when the champion changes and a couple of middleweights fight, there's movement there. So let me bring it up. Women's, all right, middleweights. Hmm. Tokov's ranked at number 5. Musasi drops to number 1. Vanderford number 2. So, but I don't think I don't think it's something that is not being noticed by anybody. Like or unnoticed, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when Musasi says it.
And Magomedov is going to fight Patchy Mix. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. So,
Oh yeah, they
uh,
faced off in the ring. I should have
yeah.
remembered
So we've
that.
got Patchy Mix
Yeah.
and then Stotts and Sabatello. So
hmm
final four set there. Yeah, no, another big win for him. So I'm wondering. I mean, you can only not give him a title shot so long. I mean, it's he's paid some dues now in Bellator, so I would expect
Yeah.
that.
Well, since we're talking about rankings, I want to bring this up. I mean, just because, and I know my editor that had me go out there for Bellator 282 is gonna bust my balls over this, but 'cause he says I have a crush on Arlene Blencow, and I'm just like, no, she talks to me, and she's ranked number what was it? Before yesterday, she's ranked number one, so that's why I think it's good to talk her up. But Kat Zingano beats Pam Sorensen and jumps up to number one. And I know folks want to see this fight happen between Cyborg and Zingano. Um, but I mean, I don't know. I just thought that it was weird that she would jump 5 spots. Um, I don't know what's going on. And I mean, I know the folks that do the rankings are people that actually pay attention to Bellator. So she won convincingly, but I mean, I
Well,
don't
she
know.
moved up one spot. They just switched Zingano and Blencow.
Oh, okay, so that was the old one. Was all right. I didn't look at
Yeah,
the
the
old
up
one.
one, down one. So they just swapped those two. A
Yeah,
lot of that's marketing. I mean,
yeah.
Arlene didn't do anything to necessarily drop her spot, but now they can say they have the number one contender fighting Cyborg. It really is the only fight still to make on that
Hmm.
list right now.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, I know
I
she's
mean,
0-2 against Cyborg Blinkow is, but I mean, when I talked to her, that interview's on this YouTube channel too. I talked to her after the event, and she was. Who knows what's going to happen because if you watch the fight at Belter 282, Zingano kind of tweaked her knee. They said she was all right. Medical checked her out before she even did her post-fight press conference. So, and they said she was all right. And I tried to ask her about when she felt or whatever, and she didn't seem to understand my question. Um, and that's on the Bellator PR YouTube channel if you haven't seen it. But um,
interesting. Well, we'll see what
yeah,
happens. I mean, but that right now, I mean, on paper, that's the fight that should make. It's been a long time going back to the,
yeah,
Invicta days where people have kind of talked about that fight. So,
yeah, yeah.
be interesting to see that. While we transition real quick, I gotta say something about BKFC. On Friday, BKFC held BKFC 26. Um, in the main event, Luis Palomino, Baboon picked up. He became
Hmm.
the first double champion in BKFC history, uh, picking up another belt at. Um, again, I believe this one. I think he now is the 185 and the one. Or I'm sorry, he's the 165 and the 155-pound champion. So he's lightweight in whatever the next division that they're calling it above that is now.
Hmm.
Um, but I've been praising the BKFC app. They've destroyed it. They put out an update for some new app they've been advertising, and it doesn't work. Didn't work for me. Didn't work for a bunch of people. I can't even get the player to show up on the screen
Oh
anymore.
wow.
Um, I have one, two, three. I have 5 different routes to watch it, and I couldn't get it a single way to do it to watch it without going the way that I won't talk about on this. So I know that there was a lot of people that were talking about unsubscribing and stuff. If you're listening to this, what the hell did you do? You had the best app going, worked flawlessly for 23 events, 24 events with Knucklemania, maybe 25 with 2 Knucklemanias,
Yeah.
and you still and you change it, and it's unbelievable. I will only catch like the last 3 fights of the whole event after spending about an hour trying to make something work. So uh, I praise their app from start to finish, it being the best deal for streaming fights.
Yeah.
And I gotta say that I wouldn't buy it now, and I might actually, even though I pay $40 a year, I might even cancel it unless the next event comes through crystal clear because uh, not operating at all, and not even going to the right screen, and not even not even bringing a player on the screen, just a blank screen that says Palomino versus Burrito on the top of the screen with no links, no nothing else. Doesn't cut it. So
Meanwhile, Eagle FC is free, and you know.
yeah, I mean, I'm going to be fair. I've praised the shit out of them for
Yeah.
over 2 years, maybe 3 years about their app. Ever since the day they launched it, I've been a subscriber.
Yeah.
But no, not anymore. I'm going to give you one more event. If it doesn't work, then it'll be the last time I ever mention your event on this podcast. So take that for what it's worth. But props to Palomino picking up the win. Total stud over there, undefeated, double champion. Just glad to see a guy who grinded so long and fought some severe wars in MMA find a niche that's really paying off. Same thing with Joey Beltran.
Mm,
Although he's had some, some downside last couple fights, he got a nice little roll and make some good coin. Getting a chance to really do what they find what they're good at.
yeah.
Um, so that's all I'm gonna say about that. We'll move on
Well,
to.
I mean,
Or go
just
ahead.
really quick, Joe. I mean, there's something to be said for the simplicity of. I mean, if you have the cameras and all everything set up already and it's working fine, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, what could you possibly be doing that wasn't like? But what are you changing? I just don't understand when people
I
do
don't
stuff
know.
like
I
that
don't know if they sold it
because
to a different streaming thing or what,
yeah.
but it doesn't. It. I think they did. I think they went to Kling or Clang or whatever the pay-per-view thing is. And my history of ordering stuff through them hasn't been great. So if that's like the streaming
Mm.
engine or whatever the heck it is or whatever they went to, and maybe I'm completely wrong,
Yeah,
but
because if you look at like again, I mentioned the Eagle FC, the FLX app or whatever it is that they use, FlexCast for FLX Cast. That's I mean, it's problematic, but you still get to watch the fights. I mean, what's the other one that came to mind? I don't know why it's unrelated to combat sports, but like people talk about Netflix and Disney Plus and Hulu, blah blah blah. I watch a lot of shit on Tubi, and that's just free. Throw in a couple of ads, but it's everything I want to watch, and it doesn't get interrupted, and they don't do anything stupid to change it.
no.
Like sometimes you just got to leave stuff alone. I mean, the only thing I could think of is if it was a cost reason, maybe they're saving more money to throw more money at MVP and Perry, and they just added Paige Van Zandt to that London card, so maybe it's a cost thing. We always talk
Yeah,
about
I mean,
BKFC's
yeah.
finances, so
I mean,
yeah.
who knows? All I know is that if it's a finance thing, the last people I want to screw are the few people that pay us.
Mm,
So that's the thing. Like it's not like it worked bad. It's not like I said, oh god, I had to watch it in standard definition. Like there was not even a play
mm-hmm.
button. And like I
It's
said,
weird.
I've between Apple TV, two different Fire Sticks, my iPhone, uh, my iPad, that's five right there, and it's just like it's unbelievable that
Yeah.
and I don't nothing really changed. It's like okay, we changed some graphics. It's not as good anymore, but the blueprint's there. There's fight passes
Hmm.
out there. You mentioned the Flex app, and that's like that's like bare bones thing, like
It's not
the
great, but I mean, it's
but it
functional.
works. It
Yeah.
works. I've never sat there for an hour trying to figure out how to make it play. So
Hmm.
um, I just hope that they
Yeah.
get that fixed because it was my, I know Bellator was on, but my big screen was gonna be BKFC until they, you know, they dropped it down. It was gonna be Bellator on the smaller screen, but
Mm.
they dropped the ball there. So hopefully they get that. But back to the good stuff. Get to head out to Vegas Friday morning.
Woo
Getting out
woo.
there for Fight Expo number 10, my 10th Expo, 11th late June, early July trip out there. So it's become a tradition for me and some of my family members to make it out there for that weekend. And boy, got a nice card. We lost about the other day,
Mm.
but I don't see a bunch of people really, you know, too sad about it. With the way that the when you load the prelims up, it allows for some. Shenanigans to go on, and I saw your
Yeah.
I saw your tweets earlier about some the curse, and believe me, I've
Yeah, and
lived
it was
through I've
actually
lived through every one of them.
well, I know. Yours is in that article that I added on the tweet, by the way, that from 2018, because that one that had what was that? What F was that 213? I forget the event.
Oh, the Shevchenko,
It was Nunez
Nunez.
and yeah.
Yeah,
I forget what it, but it was an
it
international
was
fight
it
week.
was
Yeah.
213. Yeah, and then 209 was that was an international fight week. Wasn't 209, but sure, a couple months prior to that was
But
the
I
curse.
list I list them in that piece from Sherdog that I wrote in 2018, and it was actually Amy Kaplan over at Fansided that brought it up, and all she said was I just have a bad feeling because she was there for when I met her face to face UFC 189. That card got messed up 2 weeks before its actual scheduled date. If you remember, it was supposed to be Aldo McGregor, and then Aldo was out, so then Mendes came in, and we got what we got. But I think was that when you and I met? No, we met.
No, we met at 200. That's when
Yeah.
My long story going back with HBO Sports was supposed to do something with me that
Mm.
weekend, but once the Aldo dropped out, that all
Oh.
went the ways of Hollywood.
But yeah, no,
But
like UFC
yeah,
200. I mean, the day before the whole John Jones thing. I mean, that's well
uh-huh.
documented everywhere, and so she's not wrong. I mean, it's a traditionally snake bit week, and that won't be your fault. It's just that week. So, put which I was thought to myself after I wrote what I wrote. I think I look at it this way: if something does happen, it's just another sign that we're returning. The world is healing, and we're getting back to normal.
I mean, I'm not even thrown off by it anymore. Short of them coming out
Yeah,
and saying like 4 of the main card fights are all canceled,
yeah.
like I don't flinch as much as I used to. But um, there's a couple people on this card that it would, you'd hate to lose the title fights, but
Hmm.
you know, uh, there's depth on the card. Robbie Lawler moves from the prelims to the main card
Mm-hmm.
with Misha Tate, Murphy being pushed back a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a
but
great fight
yeah,
too.
I mean, there's just great. You look at the odds, and they show some mismatch. You got 3 real even fights, and then they got a couple where it looks like they heavily lean in ways. So the
Mm,
gambling will definitely be interesting,
hmm.
especially with those 3 close fights. But you know, I
FanDuel likes to put up some interesting, unique, parlays. So I'm into. This is going to be a simulcast on ABC and ESPN. The prelims.
yeah, that's
Um.
cool, especially with the few, with the Long Island cards the following
Hmm.
week, and
Which
that's on
that's what
ABC.
they moved Lauren Murphy and Misha Tate to from what I read anyway.
That's right. 2 weeks later, the
Yeah.
16th, not the 9th. Yeah, so it's kind of a early advertisement for that. So and we ended up losing Bobby Green, who we're both fans of, but
Hmm.
you can't hate on Cowboy Cerrone, Jim Miller.
No, and I saw their first fight was here in Jersey, and Miller lost. I remember being mad because I was all, I was here in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and Donald Cerrone. This is back in they call the Revel. It's funny we're talking about it because if you let me remove this really quick. Our little background here, that's from that night. This
Oh, there you
photo,
go. There you
yeah.
go.
So that's literally from. So it's definitely a great. I took the photo, but it's definitely a great from you know uh
It's come full circle
yeah,
after
that's thank you. That's exactly
50
what I was looking
50
for.
more
Yeah.
fights combined between the two of them.
And
Um,
Miller's supposed to be committed to. He wants to get to like 300 events before he calls it a career, and I hope he makes it. I mean, what are the odds on this one? I know we look at the usually the main card, but uh,
um, I
let
think
me
it had it
close
pretty
this.
close right before you clicked it. I think it was
Yeah, Miller's the favorite.
Miller's a
Which
2-1 favorite.
mhm,
Makes sense based off of recent
mhm,
results. Uh, but I do like Cerrone bringing it in this fight.
yeah,
I kind of like last minute Cerrone coming in. Maybe less to think about. Let's just go in there and fight, especially somebody
especially since he was
has a
supposed
win
to
over him.
fight too. So it's like you get that weird itch where it's like I'm still
Hmm.
this fight camp is still in me and I haven't gotten it out. Like so that should be interesting. And I really like. I mean, this Dricus Duplessis, whatever you say his name. I liked the fights that I've seen him do so far, so I'm not surprised that he's a favorite. I know that's the prelims where you don't usually do picks for the prelims, but
Yeah, no, the Jalen Turner Riddell's fights got me
mm-hmm,
very interested. That could end up being the show stealer from the prelims. Two guys who tend to stand and really bang and throw
mm-hmm,
everything, including the kitchen sink. So I think that'll be a fun one. I don't know who's going to win. I haven't really thought my
mm,
bets through on some of these prelims. It's been the close fights. I don't really. It's just hard to
yeah.
figure out where you want to put your money until you start seeing the numbers on the board in Vegas. But the main card, man, jump to that, and that's just
It's gonna
it.
be a long night for me, but I mean, these
Well,
are good
hopefully
fights.
not. Hopefully we get some
Yeah.
good finishes, and we get some good 2-3 round fights, and we don't get a bunch of a couple of long 5 rounders to wrap you up. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, Sean O'Malley, Pedro Munoz opens up the main card as of right now. again as of right now because it is only Wednesday night.
Mm-hmm.
Munoz the plus 245 underdog, O'Malley minus 295, essentially a 3-1 favorite. I think those odds are bloated. Uh,
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
but when I doing some research on the fight, when you look at Munoz's losses, he tends to lose to strikers. I looked at he had a loss to Dodson, he had a loss to Cruz, he had a
Mm-hmm.
loss to Aldo, um, and let me check real quick. He had one more, I think, that really, uh, and Frankie Edgar.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he tends to lose to guys who can like really move around while
Yeah.
they strike. Um, a lot of movement, and O'Malley has that. He
Yeah.
bounces around. So when you look at that, like I said, between Dodson and Cruz and stuff, he tends to have trouble with those guys.
And of
But
course, he's got the reach
he's
advantage.
got the reach. He's got all the intangibles. But I think there's a mix between
Mm.
like super talent and like been kind of got the MVP treatment
Mm-hmm.
at this point. Uh, where you kind of go, well, where's the huge wins? He's got Wineland, he's got some names on his record, but they're
Yeah.
not guys who are necessarily, at the top of the rankings right now. So I lean O'Malley in that fight because I believe that he has all the tools and there's
Yeah.
no reason he shouldn't win the fight. But there's something about me going, you know what? If Vera can kind of, you know, I know he had the injury and stuff, but it was a damn close fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if Munoz fights smart, I feel like O'Malley's kind of that Anderson Silva thing. Like, why stand in front of him
Mm.
and allow him to do his thing when, although he's shown submission skills, I feel like his weakness is still off of his back. So,
Mm.
um, will Munoz use Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and try to do that or not? But I lean Munoz. I just think 3-1
Oh,
favorite is too high. Or
yeah.
I'm sorry. I lean O'Malley. I said I'm leaning
Munoz.
O'Malley to win. But I think if I'm putting money down, I might put it on Munoz. If I'm putting down $10 or $20 just to try
Yeah.
to make dinner. You know.
Yeah, I no, I'm with you. I think O'Malley pulls it off just because, again, me with my whole ectomorph soma type thing, and he's always got that over his opponents, and that's why when I brought up the stats off the UFC.com website for this little thing that they do for all their cards to check the reach, I just feel like he's got that over most of his opponents, really. When the ones he fights as of late, and then this one, I mean. So this is another. I don't see this one going the distance. Robbie Lawler versus Brian Barberina.
This is the fight
Um,
I'm most excited for on the
yeah.
whole card from the day they were announced. Even when this was listed as like an early prelim,
hmm
this was the one fight that like
Yeah.
it made me want to buy a ticket. I know there's other fights that have more important meanings and stuff, but when I see this listed in
Yeah.
front of me, now Lawler's had some snoozers. He's coming off the win on Diaz, but he didn't look great against Magny. He didn't look great against Covington. Had a rough one against Dos Anjos.
Yeah.
So he's had his downs, and maybe the Diaz fight was a little bit might be recent bias because he won, but
hmm
Diaz looked terrible. Barberina, on the other hand, coming off a win off Matt Brown
right.
in a fight of the night, fight of the year, just all out, slugfest.
hmm
So everything leans for me a little bit towards Barberina, just because I feel like he's kind of got that old Robbie Lawler attitude of like, F it, I'm just gonna go for it.
Yeah.
And in a fight like this, that either wins the fight for you or it gets you knocked out stiff in about 45 seconds by somebody like Robbie Lawler. So
Yeah.
it all comes down to which Lawler shows up. If Lawler shows up with the goal of being the lion and killing his opponent, I think he wins the fight. I think he's obviously got the one punch knockout power that
Yeah.
Barberina doesn't necessarily show right now. He's more, in a sense, it's a little bit of a clash because you got the
hmm
one punch, big, strong punch out artist, knockout artist with Lawler. And then you got Barberina, who's more of a Diaz style of just
Yeah. He's
constant.
more of a durable, like, I'll take a lot of damage to get the win.
Mhm. He's
And
kind of a
Robbie
Diaz.
Lawler.
Yeah.
hmm And Robbie Lawler is not the kind of guy that you really want to take damage from to work that strategy. He's definitely, you just said Diaz. He's kind of a Diaz, and Robbie Lawler won the Diaz fight.
Hmm.
This last one,
Yes.
the last time they fought. So It's Robbie Lawler. Plus, you got to look at quality. If you look at their history, quality of opponents, and evolution, I think Lawler still has the tougher guys that he's went up against, and that's gonna show off here. But I mean, to your point about this fight being this one making if people aren't, this isn't on your radar, there's something wrong with you, because there's just something about guys that have been with the UFC that have the experience that Barberina and Lawler have fighting on a card like this on International Fight Week. It's one of those ones that I'd if I could bet money on this being the fight of the night, this would be the one I put money on.
Yeah, and I've seen Lawler fight so many times in person. It's actually insane to
Mm-hmm.
even start thinking about it. Going back to when he fought in Pride, I saw him. I mean, and Barberina, I was at his. I think pretty sure I was at his UFC debut when he lost to Vicente Luque.
Mm-hmm.
But it was another one of those fight of the nights out in Phoenix, and every fight these guys fight, I don't miss. These are the guys. And maybe Robert Lawler has been a world champion, but I think most people still think that that's kind of crazy with his fight style that he was even able to accomplish a
Mm-hmm.
run, because you're always putting yourself out there. And Lawler in a fight where he doesn't have to worry about takedown is also a different Robbie Lawler. So
Mm-hmm.
um, man, I'm just excited about this fight.
Yeah,
I'll never pick against Robbie Lawler, but I think that this is I don't don't go to the bathroom during this fight. That's the one
yeah,
you don't
yeah,
want to miss. That's
yeah.
that's the one you don't want to
Yeah, if I
miss.
was, I'm picking Lawler too. But if I was to make a, it's like that's one of those prop bets you want, like Robbie Lawler by knockout, certain round, or
If
you
you
know,
could bet on performance bonuses, I would
mhm,
go all in on that fight.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Next fight.
everybody's favorite fighter to hate, Sean Strickland and Alex Pereira.
Yep, Strickland, who took the baton from Colby Covington uh, when it comes to just saying stuff that
To get
likes to
people
shake
worked
the
up.
crowd up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, Versus Alex Pahea. Pahea with win over Adesanya, the champ in kickboxing. It's always kind of been the run up. Um,
Hmm.
you know, when I look at this, I go, how come I couldn't have Mark Hunt versus Butterbean in Pride, but they could have this in Vegas? We were 25-3 versus 2-0. Um, I mean, I guess that doesn't count anymore. Now that I look at it, because it's when you see it in front of you, it looks like lunacy. But I'm gonna pick Strickland.
Yeah,
I think he's the more well-rounded. I think a lot of people. I mean, what were the odds? Isn't the odds? Is he the underdog? I mean, they got it as a coin flip, right? Yeah, it is
yeah,
100% even. So a
yeah.
lot of people are falling into uh, the Pahea hype. Maybe he's got it, but historically, like other than Adesanya, we haven't really had a world where like kickboxers just come in and
Exactly. That's why.
dominate.
Yeah,
And that goes, Pride, Stefan Lecco and
yeah. And just
all
so
those guys.
folks know, I mean, the video version of this is on Spotify now and YouTube, but we're getting our odds off of the DraftKings numbers that are on the UFC website. That shows them as -110 each. Um,
Not to
uh,
mention one's ranked number 4 and the other one doesn't have a number. I know that doesn't mean the most. I
no.
know a lot of guys, you didn't have numbers when they show up, but
Mhm.
I mean, those numbers actually are starting to look more tasty to me for putting money on Strickland,
Mm.
assuming he fights like a mixed martial arts fighter and doesn't just go in there and
Yeah,
play Rock'em Sock'em Robot with somebody who
and
knocks his
also
head off.
like you said, it's Wednesday. I mean, these numbers could change,
Oh, and they will change.
in the next
When people
72
start
hours.
showing up to Vegas, the money
Mhm.
will start coming in on the side of the fans people like. You'll likely start seeing, somebody like Lawler move up as far as being a favorite. I'm Strickland, he's got the name, so it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see how the money comes in on that fight. But yeah, I can't go against a guy 23-5 or 25-3. To me, that's like elite when you
Mm.
start having a record like that. And he's been fight. I was at his debut at UFC 171, so the dude's been fighting in the UFC for a long time. He only took a couple
Mhm.
fights, 1 or 2 fights a year for a couple years there early on, but
Mhm.
the guy's got like 7 years in the UFC now, so
Yeah, yeah.
he's not like. it's not like he came in here with a bloated record from outside. He's handled business inside the octagon, so hard not to go with him. That brings
Mm-hmm.
us to the co-main and the main event. We got 2 title fights. First, the featherweight championship. Alexander Volkanovski looks to sweep the trilogy with Max Holloway.
Mm-hmm.
Coming off the last fight being a controversial win for Volkanovski by decision, a fight that a lot of people, including myself, thought Holloway won. Um, it's a tough fight to pick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going with the champ. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going with the champ. I don't think other than maybe Rampage losing 2 to Vanderlei and then winning the third. I don't know of many trilogies um, where somebody lost the first 2 and then picked up the third win. But
Yeah.
I I gotta go. I'm going with the champ, 24-1. Uh, Holloway's does his thing. Like if it's a replay of the last fight, then yeah, Holloway. But I'm going with the champ, and
I
I'm not
was.
necessarily rooting for the champ in this fight because a little stir up here
Yeah.
doesn't hurt things. Although that probably leads to fight number 4, which I'm not a huge fan of necessarily. But I'm going with the champ by decision.
Hmm. I I just feel like looking at Volkanovski's fight since the last time they fought, I see improvement. Holloway. I don't want to say. I mean, even knowing the way he fights, that doesn't mean that there's anything bad about the way he fights. He's still just somebody that. I mean, this is definitely a coin toss. Like if you're trying to pick it, but I can't disagree with seeing it go. I see it going a distance, and I see it going another decision towards Volkanovski, unless somebody has to finish somebody. Otherwise,
Yeah,
that's
that's good.
And this one, I mean, listen, not for nothing.
Main
The
event:
main event. I know I'm gonna get some shit for this, but like I'm a
Israel
little.
Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier.
Yeah, I'm a little. I'm like the Adesanya build up for headlining cards just doesn't really do it for me anymore. Um, I don't know, like the last few pay-per-views, he's won and all that stuff, but I'm just like, it's not like I like the Adesanya making his way to the title since he's gotten it. It's not, outside of what he finished Paulo Costa. I can't think of who else he's finished that has been like somebody that's something that I mean, that's just, it wasn't fun for me. And I've always kind of talked up Jared Cannonier since he came into the UFC. I know when he came in, he was a 205er and kind of moved down. So the fact that he's coming from that initially and then got here, I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls off an upset on Saturday night. So I'm gonna pick Cannonier to win. Actually,
I've went back and forth a few times trying to
mm.
figure out how he wins. Um, I believe that there might be a blueprint to beat Israel, but I don't know if he has the tools to be able to get the takedowns and control the fight.
Mm-hmm.
If it becomes a striking battle, it's hard not to go with that Adesanya, the champ.
Yeah.
I mean, he is so technical that sometimes his fights become a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Yeah, he finished Whitaker
Mm-hmm.
to get the belt, and that was obviously the highlight. And he had the battle with Gastelum.
Yeah.
Uh, but I'm kind of with you. This fight, like, and even like I went to the Vittori fight. It
Yeah.
wasn't, but I didn't go for I didn't go for that fight. I went there for
Yeah.
Figgy and Moreno
Yeah.
and
Which
Diaz
was,
and Edwards. Like that
yeah.
was kind of it was honestly kind of an afterthought.
Yeah.
Um, and in a sense, I kind of feel like we're getting that again with him.
Yeah.
I think that if the fans kind of had a vote on what the main event is, I think the co-main event would, if you just said the title fights and took away.
I honestly feel like outside of the younger, the dudes that like have raccoon ears on their fucking hats or whatever, that are fans of Adesanya, like I feel like if this was the only title fight on the card, you don't get the numbers that you get, because like with Holloway and Volkanovski, and this fight, you get everybody. You get those guys, you get us, you get everybody interested. If it was just this one, you would get the
Yeah, and saying that, Cannonier's done nothing but earn his way to the title shot, um,
hmm
and a lot of the negativity maybe in the minds is the losses to Blakovic, Reyes, Glover, the guys at 205 who were just better than him at that weight class at 185. Other than his decision loss to Whitaker, he's really dominated. Picked up some big wins, names. I mean, you got Anderson Silva on your resume.
hmm
Um, they have mutual win over Brunson. Uh, I, like I said, I lean Adesanya, but with the odds, it's hard not to maybe put a couple bucks on Cannonier because
Yeah,
you know uh,
I'm putting
I
money on Cannonier for sure.
and I don't know. It'll probably be one of those things where
Yeah,
Pahale will win to set that fight up, and then Adesanya will get knocked out,
yeah.
and but yeah, I'm gonna go Adesanya to win. I'm gonna pick him to win by a finish because I think that over time he might wear down Cannonier. So I'm thinking maybe late
Hey,
third, fourth round.
yeah.
Uh, but
And
I
my
think
my
that
my
comes
thing
down to
about
money.
Adesanya, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
My thing about Adesanya again, it's like I'm not hating on the guy, or whatever. I mean, I got a buddy that watches fights with me every once in a blue, and I'll quote him and say, "It's just he's so good. He's just so good that like it's almost like I don't want to make the Tyson comparison from back in the day because it was cool when Tyson was finishing people, but if he's just very cerebral, the whole downloading and all the thing that he does. I mean, the mental aspect of his training and martial arts and the way he just looks at fights, I think that counts for a lot. So you're right. You're not wrong in making your pick, but I just feel like something about guys that put pressure on him. I do see that as a whole. I mean, we saw it when he moved up in weight. So when someone from that weight class, I know it's been a while since Cannonier's been there. I just feel like the plus 330 is some good money to make a
There's
bet on.
possibility there, yeah. And
hmm
I have a feeling that that's even going to balloon up
hmm
because, as like I said, people are going to show up
Yeah.
to Vegas and start putting money on Sonya. Everything comes down. We'll see the weigh-ins. We'll see how all that goes. Adesanya's never had a problem making weight,
Yeah.
um, so we'll see it. But yeah, I'm just happy to be getting on the road Friday and praying for some good fights and no
Yeah.
traffic and survive the heat.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I'll take that heat over this heat any day of the week. I mean, I miss going to Vegas, man. I wish I was going like again, but it's my dad's birthday this week, and I just felt weird just being away last week for Bellator because I was there for the whole fight week stuff. I mean, it was definitely no, I couldn't. There's no way I could do 2 weeks to, and when I go to Vegas, I want to get down. Like I can't. You know what I mean? Like I got to do other stuff, and I know there's beer spots out there that popped up since I was last there that I want to try out, and just the whole thing. So I'm looking forward to your review of the fan expo. Are you going to get to make it to so I do want to watch the Fight Pass Invitational. That looks fun. I don't know if you're going to make it to that or if that's part
That's
of the expo.
is that the
The grappling thing with like
oh
icon
I didn't
Jorge
I haven't
Masvidal's guys versus
I didn't even
Showtime
see
and
that. I'm gonna have to look that up. So
yeah, if you
I'm
can get in that, I mean that looks like it's. I love the
yeah.
last one talking about O'Malley's grappling prowess. That's where I saw him display it best. Was at the last Fight Pass Invitational.
It
So
was they had quintet. Yeah, so I'll have to look that up. Yeah, I'm so I'm not going to be able to do the expo Friday. I'm hoping to get there, catch the weigh-ins, um, and just kind of hang around Friday night. I'm going to go to
mhm.
the expo Saturday morning. I have people that I know going to the expo on Friday to kind of give me a kind of scout it out and let me know. Uh, if
If it's
people
worth you standing in,
Yeah,
yeah,
anybody that's listening that's be going historically when the doors open at 9, you kind of have to be in line if you want to make things happen like around 7 a.m. So usually it was like a 2-hour line wait, even the old school expo days, if you really wanted to uh, go for it, and
dude.
walk
See,
out of
I don't
there.
remember that. Like I remember 2015, 2016, just fucking went in and had fun.
No, no, there's that. I'm just saying if you want, well, I'm coming out of there with like
bags of
trash bags full of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But that's how it kind of always was. So maybe the thing that concerns me. So if you remember the old school expos, you had booths everywhere,
yeah,
and every fighter had their own line.
yeah.
So like maybe there was 20 lines of 20 fighters, that you could choose which one to get into, and maybe some lines were 45 minutes, some lines were 10 minutes, some lines were 15, some were 4 hours if you wanted to
Mm,
meet George St. Pierre.
yeah.
What they've done for this event that's got me like worried is they have people in groups. So you have 4 groups of 4
Oh
now,
boy,
like every 2 hours.
that's
So
concerning.
what that
Yeah.
means is instead of having you have 4 groups of 4, instead of having 16 individual lines where you could just be like, hey, I'm going to go stand in line for 20 minutes, go meet Paige Van Zant, and then I'm going to go get a beer. Now that line, I have a feeling is going to be like a 2-hour line to
Mm,
meet, you know, John Anik and uh, Cody Garbrandt.
yeah.
You know, so that's not that's concerning. So, and they're going to be behind a table. Sounds to me like that'll be the selfie thing. So if you're listening going to that, you might want to play that by ear and see how that goes as far as what lines you want to stand in. There are meet and greets that they have around the area. Modelo booth, Toyo Tires booth.
You know, there's gonna be some howlerhead shit.
How,
That's
yeah,
what.
probably. But that's where the names of the fighters are, where they have their times. The lines will probably be longer, but you likely will be able to at least walk up to them, shake their hand, get an actual photo if that's what you're into, get your autograph, as
Hey,
opposed to kind of being shuffled across the table with people
yeah,
sitting at it.
not for nothing. Howlerhead shit's worth going to though if you get some howlerhead out of it, because
Oh, if you don't have like 6 shirts, then you've never gone to a UFC event because
yeah, I
they
love
hand them out like
howlerhead, man.
crazy.
I love howlerhead though. That was that funny enough. When the pandemic started, it was easily available out here in Jersey, and now that things have kind of lightened up, I can't find it, anywhere. So I'm dying for some howlerhead. If you could squirt some all the way from the West Coast over here, I'd appreciate it. Because yeah, I'm over here drinking some old man shit now. Fucking bullet
uh,
bourbon or whatever the hell I'm drinking now. So
but I'm hoping that I'm not just cynical and that they've got it rocking and everything's cool because
mhm.
I plan on next year returning to kind of the 3 4 day thing and really hitting it hard if they
Yeah, I
get
hope
back
they
to it.
clean it up. I just hope they make it. Don't make it like you said. I think, what did you call it last time? A storefront or a freaking
Yeah,
revolving door?
the last couple have been like at storefronts, standing outside. At least we're
Mhm.
inside now. If you want people to stand in line, it's got to be in an air conditioned
Yeah,
hallway. Um,
especially July and out there. Yeah.
it's ludicrous to think that it's such a disgraceful move to do to your fans to make them stand outside in 110-degree weather uh, for hours on end. I mean,
Mhm.
that's just it's offensive. you
That's
know,
that's like
uh,
making an app that doesn't work after you've been talking
that
about it for 5 years.
exactly. After paying for over 3 years, they update it and you can't watch shit. So,
Yeah,
but anyways, yes, Fight Week, UFC 276 pay per view this Saturday, prelims on ESPN and ABC. I'm excited. I'm
me
excited
too,
I'm
man.
excited for everything. So I've seen it all, so I'm a little bit, I kind of know how to play the game and kind of know what to expect. But at the same time, I hope I walk into something I've never seen before and lights my eyes up and makes me, as giddy as I was,
Yeah,
the first time I walked into one of these things. So, um,
I'll be with you in spirit.
there it is. Fans can follow us at Combat Hour on Twitter, Coast to Coast Combat Hour on Instagram. Follow me, Matthew Hawkins, at MMA Hawk 21 on Twitter and Instagram. Check out Ed at Carbazol on Twitter, Carbeerzol on Instagram, Old Head Carb on Twitch. And you can always find our show at www.allaccessmma.com. Check out allaccessmma.com for any of your MMA needs. Ed, I look forward to talking to you next week about this weekend and hopefully fight of the years left and right.
Yeah, happy 4th of July. Woo!
There you go. Get that howler head if you can.